web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. And getting back into reviewing asylum movies has been interesting and all, but there was another movie studio that made a bunch of movies a while ago that I started reviewing, but never quite finished. That being New Image Films and the Nature Unleashed series of disaster movies. The last time I looked at one of these was way back in 2014. They're a low-budget attempt at disaster movies based on actual, real natural disasters, and semi-scientific reasoning behind what's going on. But they are also movies, fictional larger-than-life tales about characters and heroes who have devoted their lives to fighting those dastardly natural disasters who have wronged them before, such as we see in today's review of Nature Unleashed Volcano. Russell Woods is your average everyday volcanologist when a sudden tragedy befalls him, possibly related to volcanoes. So, to take his mind off things, he travels far and wide in search of something, but instead finds strange, mysterious happenings involving an old town, creepy girl, and dark secrets, possibly related to volcanoes. Yeah, a supernatural psychological horror. Just what I'm expecting out of a based-in-reality, scientifically sound disaster movie. So, let's take a look at Nature Unleashed Volcano, and see just how much nature is in it. We open up to the past. You can tell because everything is black and white with spooky music. So they gotta hurry up and remind y'all that yes, we are watching the right movie. Jumping forward to near present day, where volcanoes are erupting. Later, right now we're watching Dee Woods, played by Marnie Alton, having a nightmare about a strange girl who keeps screaming, waking her up, as well as her husband, Russell Woods, volcanologist extraordinaire, played by Chris William Martin. She's wanting to leave right now, but he's like, nah, we do this assignment and then we can go.
Take a little trip. We'll go to Italy. We'll visit the little town where you came from, okay?
Right, you promised me that before.
Establishing that Dee is Italian and Russell is a fucking liar. Anyway, it's time for the assignment. They ride a helicopter into an active volcano as Russell is willing to do death-defyingly dangerous badassery to get only the best shots of this stock footage in search of that sweet, sweet National Geographic paycheck. But the volcano attacks! It's either that or they are paying these pilots way too much. However, we're barely 5 minutes into this movie, so Dee saves Russell from his stupidity, for now. As he's like, hey, you know, having lava blasted in my face is some damn nice content. How about you land me and my wife down inside the volcano so we can get some real close-ups of this stock footage? Strangely enough, this turns out to be an incredibly fucking stupid idea, as the volcano is still erupting and begins spewing flaming rocks at them. Thus, they tell the chopper that they'll leave on foot. The helicopter can meet them at the Jeep. But then... oh no! Damn you, volcano! You killed them! The volcano hasn't killed Russell and Dee yet, though, so they flee to the Jeep, played by a Toyota. However, it won't budge! Russell tries to push it, but nothing works. So, defeated, he just hops back in the car and they drive away. Until they come across a local village caught in the disaster. They simply have to stop. Dee does her best to help as many people as she can, while Russell just points the camera at everyone like, ooh, look at all these helpless people being killed. Man, if only there was someone who could do something about it. Eventually, though, Dee hears a baby's cry. Investigating, she finds the mother has perished. Not to worry, Dee can save the baby.
Russell!
Dee! Give me that!
But as it turns out, lava is flowing beneath the village. And this cavern could hold a whole building perfectly fine, but a lady holding the baby? Whew, just a little too much. As such, she tells Russell that he has to save the baby, as this is the scene where she has to die. To hammer that point home, she has a sudden vision of Screaming Girl Nightmare before she falls to her death. Not enough for you? Well, how about a random propane tank falling in, blowing her up for good measure? That over with, we suddenly jump 3 weeks later, and we never see the baby again. Instead, Russell is all alone, unable to move on from having thrown his wife into a volcano shortly before blowing her up. Well, there is that village in Italy she grew up in. Always promised to take her there, and, well, it looks like he only needs one ticket now, so he can finally afford to go. Making a great first impression by making an ass out of himself in front of the local hot school teacher, Silvia Diablo, played by Antonella Elia.
You don't read road signs in America?
As a matter of fact, no. This also introduces the creepy, quiet kid on the bus, Angela, played by Sarah McAloon Lane. Though that's not exactly fair to call her the creepy one. She might be the quiet one, but this is psychological horror. Every last one of the little bastards is fucking weird. Continuing the horror theme without reason, Russell makes it to town and walks along the town square, which seems deserted. Spare for some creepy music. Finding the hotel he's staying at, there isn't even a receptionist, just a note and a key. Oh, well, just means there's no one here to interrupt a handy-dandy flashback expositing another little thing he promised his wife would do. Seems her father carved her name into a tree at her old house in this village.
I want you to carve your name next to mine.
Sure thing, Dee. May everyone who comes to that tree henceforth. Wonder who the fuck is Drussel? After his little chat with dead wife, he leaves the Silent Hill Shadow world and we see, oh yeah, there's actually an absolute ass ton of people who live in this village, such as Antonio, played by Joseph Beatty, a local shopkeep who makes it his business to be super friendly to all who come to the village and look like they have money. Russell takes him at his word, though, and asks him if he can help him find his wife's old childhood home. This does manage to point him in the right direction, so, using his handy-dandy volcanology photography powers, he begins taking pictures of the place. Oh, her name wasn't Dee. D was short for donate. Patreon link in the description. Or Donatella, whatever. More importantly, Angela has appeared. Terrified of the American, she flees shortly before Sylvia arrives.
You Americans, you just think you can go anywhere with no respect for anyone.
Yeah, that's about right. It's called freedom! Sylvia doesn't live here, though. No, that would be the old drunk who is really angry at Russell. I'm not sure why, but the point is, he must leave. No problem. He's got to get his film developed. Yeah, digital cameras existed in 2005, but they weren't spooky enough. Besides, this gives Russ the chance to chat it up with Antonio about Angela. Antonio's like, yeah, she's fucking nuts. So Russell figures he better check the school for any leads on his wife's childhood. Heading over, he finds Sylvia, and she explains they don't have those records anyway.
Because until 3 years ago, the church ran the school, so all the records are at the monastery.
Oh, Jesus. No quest can ever be straightforward, can it? He's gonna go to the monastery and find out, oh, the gate is locked, but the key is missing, and the closest locksmith is in Albania, but the ferry worker has gone missing. So it's off to the next location, the monastery, led by Father Dominic, played by Philip Dunbar. He's like, oh, you're Donatella's husband. How's she doing? Russell's like, dead? So Father Dominic is like, no worries, I got some old pictures of her. Also some wisdom to help comfort you in this hard time.
You know, my son, we cannot always understand why our father calls his children back to him.
She fell into a volcano and then blew up. Father wasn't calling her, he was yelling like, hey, D, get your ass home! Russell explains that he feels the presence of D everywhere lately, and Father Dominic is like, yeah, it's natural to feel the D. But when Russell says he also has seen the creepy child, Dominic tells him to avoid the creepy child. She is unnatural, tainted by Satan, or something. Point is, evil bitch, stay away. Doesn't mean he can't have creepy nightmares about the creepy girl. Ah, well, should be about time to get his pictures back from Antonio, but Antonio is worried the American and his big fat wallet might be leaving soon, so he plays the tourist division, telling him about all kinds of places he could check out.
There is a legend that says a secret tunnel runs underneath the entire town into the mountain.
No leads on its location yet, but keep it in mind it's going to be very important come Act 3. But how about those photos? Well, looks like when Angela showed up, Russell accidentally had his camera set to burst mode. No worries, Angela is here and she brought a present. A dead bat. Chasing her down for answers, he eventually finds her in the old abandoned mine, only to be besieged by CGI bats, who then drop like flies. Oh well, that out of the way, he has her cornered. She is drawing chalk circles everywhere. What does this mean? Fuck if I know. Her touch burned her handprint into his arm. The man's got dooms. This is some Hideo Kojima Death Stranding shit. Russell isn't accepting that non-answer though, so goes to the only other established character who will talk to him, Sylvia, and straight up asks her why the kid's so fucked up.
What happened to her?
She was with her mother. They were struck by lightning.
I don't know where Dominic gets the idea that God works in mysterious ways. From what I've seen, he's been pretty fucking direct so far. This tragic event killed her mother instantly, and Angela too. But that was merely a near-death experience. She came back a bit later, just stopped talking. Been hard for her, as the mine collapse killed her father too. Angela just gets no breaks, so next morning, Russell spots Dee! He chases, but she is just too far to reach! Dee! Dee! But it's all just a dream! In reality, he spots Angela down in the town square. Also, she left him presents, chalk circles and a dead animal. Oh well, the dream told him where to go, rushing to Dee's old house, and the dream-locked gate. He opens it and finds Angela's room, full of circles. But then he hears Angela upstairs. Who painted a generic low-detail face? Plot-wise, yes, that is Dee, but I mean, come on, it's really not that convincing.
How do you know my wife? What are you trying to tell me?
What the fuck does any of this have to do with volcanoes? She flees from his aggressive questioning, and he chases after. So this is what's in Russell's head. Nothing. Well, while you're out cold, you could like the video or subscribe. It helps. Helps quite a bit. Also, wasn't joking about the link in the description. I do have a Patreon. It is very handy if you guys would. Seems the random assaulter was a neighborhood clergy. They're like, you know, that bitch is possessed by the devil. You really better leave her alone. Russell is like, I think she knows my dead wife. And Dominic is like, yeah, not surprising. Look, she talks with the dead. That's what she does, because Satan and shit. So leave well enough alone. So, with nowhere to turn, Russell returns to Sylvia like, hey, Angela's been chatting it up with my dead wife, and I need answers. To prove his case, he brings her back to the painting. Only, it isn't here.
I don't see anything.
Well, then they came and they washed it away. I mean, look, it's wet. Come on,
Okay,
feel it.
stop it.
We're here to dismiss your evidence, not admit you might be right. But Russell refuses to give up. He needs to find Angela. Hearing that she is visiting her mother, Sylvia and him head down to the cemetery. But that is when Russell discovers another chilling detail to this supernatural mystery.
Angela and her mother were struck by lightning the same day that Dee died.
God was speedrunning that day. They finally find Angela, though, down by the lake, walking in, sinking below the water.
She can't swim! Hurry!
Might have thought about bringing that little detail up sometime before she started getting cha-cha real smooth with Jason Voorhees. Deftly diving in after her, they manage to bring her ashore, and Russell employs CPR to resuscitate Angela. Still, they want to make sure she's all right, so they go as quick as they can to get her help. At the monastery.
There's no pulse, no heartbeat. I'm so sorry.
What the hell are you talking about? They successfully resuscitated her just a couple of minutes ago. What happened? Not to mention that she is clearly still breathing.
Impossible! A miracle!
If anything, it's just getting me to doubt that near-death experience story. She was probably just at home taking a nap. But now that she's clearly alive, we better defibrillate her to bring her back. While she's got a grip on Russell because clear is merely a suggestion in this universe. Point is, she's alive, as she clearly has been this whole time. Sylvia wonders why she made an attempt on her own life, but Russell thinks she was trying to warn them. Returning to her room, he tries to figure out the circle code. What's with all the circles? The moon. The circles, The dead animals. Of course! Angela's trying to warn us that we're about to be attacked by an army of werewolves! Needing to get to the bottom of this moon business, Russell goes not to the teacher, but instead to the only other established character in town who will talk to him, Antonio! He just barges into the man's shop, takes over his computer, and starts searching for moon stuff. But Sylvia calls up about something wrong with Angela. So, tasking Antonio with finding the moon thing, Russell rushes back to the monastery to discover Angela in the middle of one of those common everyday exorcisms. Okay. What level of but there's a perfectly logical explanation for it are we on here? After Angela is done floating and blowing everything up at random, Antonio rushes in with a shocking revelation. He found the moon thing.
The moon? She is getting closer to the Earth than she has ever been before.
What is he talking about?
It's a unique lunar cycle.
So supermoon. Cool. I mean, that does affect volcanoes a tad, but I really don't think less than 1/100% is really something you gotta get worried about. But this is nature unleashed. That incredibly minor, imperceptible influence can cause tidal waves, floods, and all kinds of disasters. But what disaster will they face? Well, the moon just so happens to shine through this stained glass, which just so happens to highlight a particular statue, which just so happens to be covering up a painting of...
It's a volcano.
Congratulations! We're over an hour into this thing, and you finally got around to bringing up volcanoes again. Antonio refuses to believe it, though. The mountain is a nice mountain.
I have been up to the top of her. She is beautiful, peaceful, like a sleeping child.
And what happens when a sleeping child wakes?
They tear through the streets, murdering everyone! I mean, it's either that or he's trying to convince them that the volcano is going to cry until they give it a juice box. Armed with this knowledge, Russell intends to convince Dominic to evacuate the village.
Father, we need to talk.
I will not speak with the devil's helpers.
Yet we've waited this whole movie for some volcano action, and Father Dominic is going to make sure that the body count rises.
Your people, they listen to you. We have to get them to safety and we need your help.
You don't know our people.
So, they don't listen to you? Damn, Father. But Dominic swears there is no volcano, so Russell's like, okay then, guess I'm gonna have to bring proof. So, taking Antonio along for the ride, they head back into the abandoned mine. Here, they see that the cave wall is actually glowing, melting. Oh, and the entire fucking mine is collapsing again. So they must run. Earthquakes and fire ravage the lands, causing panic. So Father Dominic is like, wow, that was bad. Sure glad that's over. But Russell tells him it's not over, not by a long shot.
You must listen to me. When did you listen to me?
Well, you were constantly fucking wrong the whole way, so there's that.
There is your volcano.
Okay, I can't explain the fire explosions or floating, but creepy supernatural girl is clearly a different issue from Volcano. But Russell believes there is more that Angela has to tell them. They figured out the moon thing and the volcano thing, but there's another important message his dead wife is trying to tell them from the mute medium. Where is the lava coming from?
You see, it's not coming from the mountain, it's coming from underground, it's coming from underneath us. That's it. That's it.
And just like every other mystery in this movie, they figured this out 2 seconds before it becomes bleedingly obvious. Surprise! It's not just the mountain that's erupting, but the village as well, spewing liquid hot magma all over everyone, while flaming rocks rain from above, slaughtering countless villagers left and right. Well, looks like God has a plan for that one too. Speaking of God, Father Dominic helps get a lot of helpless villagers to the monastery, but is terrified to see the return of that fire-starter Carrie-looking bitch, Angela. But she's just here to, as creepily as possible, point out the secret underground passageway that nobody knew about. Ah, that's right, they mentioned something about that an hour ago. Using that, they all flee and escape, but the tunnel collapses, trapping Angela inside. But then she meets D in the lava flow. Oh, and Russell runs down to save her. He doesn't see D, but he does see this. Angela just teleports in from the smoke? Did he even have to go in to save her? Could she have just evaporated her ass out of the cave? Therefore, happy ending! Angela is saved. A couple dozen villagers survive. Father Dominic is like, yeah, my bad. And Russell finally gets around to carving his name in the tree with his dead wife for eternity. That was a happy ending, right? Anyway, that was Nature Unleashed. Volcano. I think it had next to nothing to do with volcanoes. That was some psychological horror supernatural evil shit. I still don't understand what happened. Okay, I get that Donatella died at the same time as Angela, almost dying, and that allowed her to communicate through the mute child, but exactly what in the ever-loving fuck was with all the torture and fire and burning and exploding and levitating? Yeah, this movie didn't exactly utilize volcanoes to create a compelling disaster flick when you could swap out the volcano for just about any disaster and it would have worked mostly the same. The movie is about a supernatural mystery, which isn't all that much of a mystery considering the goddamn movie is called Nature Unleashed Volcano. We all know it's a volcano before we hit play. That's anything but a shocking revelation. As a movie by itself, though, it's still bad. The quality is about what you'd expect from a made-for-TV production, with hit-and-miss acting and just enough characters with just enough character traits to technically be a movie. The script really needed a deeper lean into the supernatural to be compelling, but being a Nature Unleashed movie, that was the opposite of the mission statement here. At the end of the day, Nature Unleashed Volcano is unique. I can't think of any other natural disaster-themed disaster flick series that can look you in the eye and deliver a ghost story about a not demon-possessed but levitating girl leaving mysterious clues in the form of dead animals to tell us, hey, there's a natural disaster coming. Coming in at 2 evil sentient volcanoes out of 5. That's another thing. The lava and flaming rocks seemed awful determined in their mission. At least someone in this movie was. Thank you all for watching. I've been Decker Shado. And remember, if she's still breathing, you probably don't need to turn on the defibrillator.
My teacher, she had the best.
Antonio, the school?
See, the school.
Nature Unleashed. 4 down, 1 to go. Way back when I reviewed Fire, Earthquake, and Avalanche. I don't have the last one down yet, but hey, that's a free slot for the algorithmically selected recommended video. So I hope it's a good one. You're supposed to click on one of them. It helps.